PVM's mission is guided by our Christian heritage. We serve all seniors, creating new possibilities for quality living.
And I think, Johnny, we were going to ask the Reverend Dr. Lou Pruz to offer a few comments or reflections on these words and what they might mean to him.
So I'm a pastor in Detroit, and I've been in the pastorate for almost 50 years. And I don't think I've been in a congregation where I have not stressed that ministry and mission is a we thing. It's not an I thing, it's a we thing. And if this is an 8-top table, so if there were 8 people, and I invited you, or I asked you, I'm going to do this table. You not quite 8, but I want you to join hands. Just join hands. This is a we table of mission. This is what we do. We join hands and we do mission. So when Johnny asked me to put my eyes on the mission statement and especially the beliefs and values, I suggested that we put we everywhere we could. 1 John says, thank you. You can keep holding hands if you'd like. But I don't know. This is early for me. 1 John, we love because some Bible student's going to know the end of this. We love because God first loved us. So there's a we experience in this. So if you look at the beliefs and mission and values part of this strategic plan, you'll notice that every one of them begins with we. It's what we're going to do together wherever we are in this state. It's what we do. And we're going to create and believe, have respect. We're going to embrace, hold hands. We're going to promote, strive, practice, and advocate for those that we want to serve. So Roger, as I walked in, said, you have to say something, so that's something.
Tom Kimball, who's right here. I'm going to ask Tom if he would be kind enough to read this vision statement and tell us what that statement means to him.
We will continue to transform senior living and services, enhancing the communities we serve. We will continue to transform senior living. Why is that so important? Because seniors deserve the opportunity to live with dignity and purpose. Today they don't live with the dignity and purpose that they so much deserve. So it's our responsibility to continue to transform them from where they are today to where they can be in the future, so that they have the purpose, they have the kind of lives that will help as seniors live with bigger and better and brighter lives than they live today.
Thank you very much, Tom. Paul Miller and I were introduced to Tom Kimball through a great woman who passed away earlier this year, Helen Morrison. Helen Morrison saw Tom on a Sunday morning TV show and called us up and said, you need to meet Tom Kimball. And of course, anything Helen Morrison said, we do, right, Susan? And so we met with Tom, and Tom was kind enough to be the keynote speaker at a gala, and then immediately after that, joined the foundation board. One of the messages that Tom gave, and Tom was the president of AARP of Michigan, one of the messages that he gave at the gala was the story about the founder, or one of the founders of AARP. And Tom, do you want to just say a little bit about that chicken coop story, if you don't mind? Because I think it's relevant to this whole transformation.
Well, I mean, if I knew I was going to say all this, I would have charged you The founder of AARP was just this wonderful lady. She was a principal in Los Angeles, and one day she got a call from a radio station saying, "Hey, you know, we were out in East LA, and we saw this chicken coop in the back of a house, and we saw a lady going in and out, and we just want to make sure that she's in good health and wellness." So the founder went to this address, and God given, she saw this old lady living in a chicken coop. And she said, "Boy, I think I know you." And the lady said, "You know, I think I know you too." And it come to her that this old lady had been a Spanish teacher for 30 years in the school system. But she got sick, and it robbed her of all her values, all her valuables, all her money, and she could not take care of herself. So the founder spent the next 2 years going to 70 different insurance companies, trying to get pensions and health care for retired teachers. And in that 70 interviews that she asked, not one insurance company would insure teachers until she got to the very last one. And she was effective in getting this insurance company to provide insurance to seniors and to retired teachers. That was the history of the beginning of an organization that we call AARP. And where it started with, less than a couple of thousand teachers in California, now the organization is 39 million. Do we have any members in here, by the way? You're some of those members. But the whole story is service to seniors. Somebody having a thought that if you can see it and believe it, you can achieve it. She saw a vision of helping seniors. She believed that it could happen, and now she has an organization that helps seniors all over the world now.
Thank you very much.
Our core purpose. We create diverse environments, programs, and services where seniors are able to achieve their best possibilities and purposes in life.
So we're just going to call on people at random, and I'm going to ask Dr. Mark Lindley from the Westland Board, who lives in Ann Arbor, if he would give his own reflections on these words and what they mean to him, and particularly through his lens as a Westland board member.
Well, thanks for the advance warning, Roger. I'm struck by the word diversity, and I think of the diverse populations that we serve. We serve a wide range of folks who come in to our villages as one sort of person and progress through the years to a totally different sort of person. And that diversity is something that that we stretch to support and serve. I'm struck by a comment that our administrator at Village of Westland, our wonderful Michelle White, said, we have folks, the folks who come into our independent living often are really assisted living, and the folks who come into assisted living are people who used to go to nursing homes. So we really have a stretch, we have to stretch to meet the needs of the seniors that we have. and we have to work hard to help them achieve their best possibilities and purpose in life.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lindley. Dr. Dorothy Jenkins, would you be kind enough to give your reflections on what these words say to you?
I think it means to me that we strive very hard to be very conscious of including all people, regardless of their race, regardless of their standing in life. We try to disrupt aging. We're looking at it from a very wide perspective. And so we have intergenerational programs. We have activities that include the community. We partner with anyone who will partner with us. We try to do the very best that we can do. We try to live up to being Christian. We actually put it into action.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jenkins. She used a word that I really am a big fan of. And if you go back to the vision, we use the word transform. And that's a great word, because it's not about steady state, keep things the way they are, but it's about transforming. But she used the word disrupt, be a disruptor of aging. And I think that's also very appropriate for PVM. So Dr. Pruse had highlighted these beliefs and values, and stressing the word we. So you see, we've got we leading the core purpose, and we leading the vision, and we could put we here. We are guided by our Christian heritage. So these are all these foundational, important statements that apply to every part of PVM. And I'd like to ask, so Dr. Aaron Lundgaard. So Aaron, if you wouldn't mind, and you don't have to go through all these, but if you might just, tick off a couple of these beliefs and values that particularly resonate with you.
Well, looking at the second value, we believe in the highest standards of ethical conduct and integrity. Serving at the Village of East Harbor, looking at the record that we have there, you can't help but highlight that and look at how the standards that we have, the 5-star ratings that we have, the conduct that we've shown over the years. So that one stands out to me, being one of the few villages that have, continuum of care. Over the last few years, obviously we promote safe and secure environments. We had to tackle that head on with the with COVID and what we dealt with there, and it was a learning curve for everybody, something we had to do and learn on the fly, and it was pretty obvious. I think the organization as a whole did a great job with that.
Thank you, Aaron. Johnny, let's give Aaron a round of applause. Let's hear from the chair of Delta Manor, Barbara Anderson.
One of the most important things, as far as I'm concerned, is we practice effective communication. And communication between the boards, the staff, is key in every organization, as well as with the residents. And it's just one of those things I try to practice. I encourage my board members to do that. As we walk through and do things, is that, let's make sure that we are communicating effectively with everyone that we are involved with. And the other one is being an advocate for and a champion for aging and related causes. Our seniors, and I'm a senior, and we're really concerned about what's happening to them. So we just need to be out there advocating for the things that make them happy, things that keep them safe. And again, you know, it's like the insurance issues. So we just need to be advocates for them.
Thank you, Barbara. And we'd like David Miller to share this long, is it one sentence? Yeah, it's one long sentence. Because we had previously had like 3 or 4 paragraphs, and David, he rewrote those into this one long sentence. So, and this is kind of what we think about as the future state. So if we got into a time machine and we were now in 2030, sounds like a long ways away, but it's really not that far. But in 2030, David, what would PVM look like?
I'll be living there. So, hey, it might be pretty good. Well, the statement is we're market-focused, consumer-driven, serving substantially more people with workforce excellence, implementing bold transformation, maintaining financial strength, embracing technology advancements, and also demonstrating the measurable enhancement of the lives of those we serve. I've always said this for years. I want to become the Walt Disney World of senior living. What do you think about when you think about Walt Disney World? Excellence, perfection, fun, entertainment, happy place. That's where I'd like to see us all in 2030 and beyond.
So, Melanie West, you're in that time machine with us. What does what David just said, how does that resonate to you? What's the challenge now that this calls us to do in the next 7 or 8 years?
It's a matter of being creative so that we can figure out what we want for ourselves is the same thing that we want for our seniors. So it's looking at all the things that could possibly be and make it happen. We can make anything happen. If you can think it, if you can see it, you can make it happen. That's what we can do, be creative. But while I've got this microphone, I want to say 2 more words. 2 more words. Honesty and transparency. That's always been PVM to me. Honesty and transparency. And that means credibility. You do what you say you're going to do. And that's been the reputation of PVM for all these years.
Thank you, thank you. Henry Johnson. What can you add to that?
What needs to be said has been said. However, no, I endorse all that's been said regarding PVM, regarding the portrait of the future. I just hope as an organization we continue to put our residents and seniors in general first in terms of what we're about. They are a force not only to be reckoned with, but to be recognized. We are where we are because of the seniors among us, and me being one of them. And I don't want to see the advances that have been made in the field of aging disappear. I want to see us build on them, expand on them, and create new opportunities for both PVM and the people we serve in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
So, the portrait of the future, the beliefs and values, the core purpose, the vision, and the mission are not enough. There's more. And that is our BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And how about Dr. Jim Tubbs?
Together, in collaborations, advocacy, and partnerships with others, we will make Michigan an outstanding place to age by 2030. Well, having come here from North Carolina, I would say that the first challenge will be weather, but I think there's a lot to be said for making Michigan an outstanding place to age. And when I look over there at the map, it looks to me like PVM is really spreading out in such a way as to make that possible pretty much all over the state. And I think that we need to be, thinking in those directions. I'm also very much encouraged by what we heard at the beginning, and I hope we'll hear more of, and that is intergenerational collaborations and partnerships, because I really think that's essentially the future with aging, because it's what psychologically limits aging the most is interaction with those who are younger and think younger and look younger and act younger in terms of activity. I remember being struck by seeing a little documentary piece just a couple weeks ago about how in Japan, which is having such a problem dealing with their aging, that they've actually resorted to robots to take care of, because they don't have enough people to take care of them. They are now hiring babies, hiring families with babies to bring them in, and so the elderly folk in some of their nursing homes can play with babies. So I think the things that we can think of that will make aging a part of the lifespan and still incorporated with the other parts of the lifespan need to be part of the goal here. But I think it's definitely Michigan can be an outstanding place to age.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tubbs. So some of you may recall, more than 10 years ago, the BHAG was a little different. And it said to make Michigan the best place to age. Not an outstanding place, not a good place, but the best place. And we were going to do that by 2022. And here we are. And so I think part of the reflections strategically with the committee and others was to dial back our boldness a little bit. And I think it's still fair to say it is attainable to make Michigan an outstanding place to age. The Governor Whitmer, had actually before the pandemic signed on to the AARP challenge to make Michigan an age-friendly state. We heard just this week that Wayne State University had achieved the designation of an age-friendly campus. And there are cities increasingly that are evaluating how can they become age-friendly communities. So I think we're seeing more and more signs that this BHAG is on the right track. Don't you think, Johnny?
Yes, I definitely think so. For the many years that I've been with PVM, from where we were, it had already started when and where we are now. Although we may have had a little bump in the road, the past couple of years, I do see that we are moving more along the trend that we are our residents. We're respectful to them. They're welcoming to anyone that wants to visit, come, participate, whatever, with PVM. And the whole overview of the organization and what we are trying to achieve for seniors has really taken, it's more than I can even imagine. And again, you know, I like the idea of the intergenerational type that we are moving a little bit towards. It takes time to do those things, but we will get there. We will get there.
So the statement uses the word together, and that's the first word in the name of the program today, right? On the program, it's together. You heard the chancellor talk about the importance of togetherness. And I'm going to ask Larry Matthews. Larry, you happen to be a part of a village that definitely was a collaboration. And could you reflect on what this statement means to you?
Again, I'm Larry Matthews. I'm the interim chair of Hartford Village in Detroit, Michigan. And I just saw how that entire living facility came together, and it couldn't have been done with just Hartford or just us by ourselves, but joining with PVM and joining with other partners, we pulled together a beautiful facility that we have that is now serving more than 100 folk through the colleges and also through the living facility. You can't do anything by yourself. But coming together as a team, we were able to pull this together with the funding and all of us working together. That's what it took to get us all, to get that operation together. And that's what together means to me. We collaborated and we made it happen.
Thank you, Larry. And now we're going to dive into some of the details, and we'll keep it at a high level, though. The plan that we had that was from 2019 to 2021 had 4 directions, and I think it had over 20, maybe 22, 25 initiatives. And the feedback that we received from not only the PVM board and the strategic planning committee, but from many of you was, wow, that is just a bit much. So in developing this plan, we did dial it back a bit. And we have 3 directions and I think 15 initiatives. So Johnny, do you want to maybe just highlight the direction, and then we can talk a little bit about what comes under that?
Okay, our first direction here is strengthen and grow the PVM portfolio through affiliation, acquisition, divestiture, and development. You heard Larry talk about how we did with acquisition, not acquisition, but partnership portfolio through affiliation with others. So,
yeah, this direction, you might think of it as not only about bricks and mortar or facilities, but largely that's what it's related to. And so we do call out under item 1 that we would be involved in executing on management agreements. The idea there to do more of those management agreements, and we set ourselves a goal of having at least 3 new management agreements. Also to look at affiliation opportunities. So how can we work closer with others? And I'll give you an example of one, and I'm not sure if it's going to turn into an affiliation or not, but thanks to Melanie West. Melanie contacted us, I think, in July and asked the question, had we had any conversations with Hospice of Michigan? And I said, well, we certainly know of them. I knew Carolyn Casson. Obviously, I think everybody knew Dottie Deramore. But we hadn't really been talking to Hospice of Michigan in a while. And so Melanie said, well, Melanie, you tell the story.
Well, I did read the strategic plan. And again, well, I don't want to, sorry, somebody's got to see my back, but a friend of mine is Sandy Linden, and Sandy is the chairman of the board of Hospice of Michigan. And Sandy and I have always been professional colleagues, and I'm retired now, and I said, Sandy, doesn't it make sense that HOM and PVM have a relationship? There's so much synergy and benefits for both organizations. We got to get people talking. And so Sandy agreed, and I agreed, and Roger agreed, and we put a meeting together, and now Katrina's working, and a few other people at PVM are working with people from HOM, and we'll see. We'll see if there's enough synergy and common belief that there's ways we can work together. So it helps everybody. It's part of our plan.
Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate you doing that. And I understand, Tom Kimball, did you have something to do with that organization at one time? You were the chairman of the board of Hospice of Michigan, too.
Yes, I was. And I can see a lot of synergies knowing both this organization and hospice. There's so much that can be done and achieved.
And where is Barbara Woodward? Yep, so Barbara, that's all right. You give your personal connection to this little story here.
The coffee's very good, by the way. Yes, my Hospice of Michigan, we have been affiliated or connected with them through actually my father. My father's been a patient of Hospice of Michigan. I am new to PVM by 9 months, but I am definitely, they are a preferred provider for me, being a director of an assisted living. And they just, I can't even say enough about them. You don't think of someone being on hospice for 2 years. My father has very advanced dementia, and they have continued to partner with us to care for him. And he, just that connection. So when I went to Perry Farm Village, and I knew that we were going to be growing, the one thought that I had was, definitely Hospice of Michigan needs to be on board with us. So we are meeting next week, Monday, and they're coming up to see our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. So the third item under item 1 is to examine new geographic alternatives for PVM. And the map was referenced. You see where we're located. You can also see where we're not located. And I think the intent here was to be more intentional about where we might be across the state. And there are some of us that have talked about the Upper Peninsula, which you don't see right now we have any presence in. The second initiative under this direction, Brian Carnegie, can you give just a little snippet of what this is all about?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone. Great attendance. This one, HUD has come up with a new program for basically refinancing these projects, but it's a lot more than that. We have 18 HUD 202 programs that we either sponsor or manage. The idea here, and Lou Pruz is the chair of our task force on this, the idea here is to look at all those properties. We know we need to renovate them, but how can we introduce affordable assisted living or a more mixed income community? Because all the HUD 202s, as you know, if you're a board member or staff, are subsidized programs. So how can we introduce mixed income? If there's vacant land around a facility, how can we add to that program? And I want to recognize Jose here, who's been at the Village of Sage Grove since inception. Little hand for Jose. And Sage Grove is a perfect example of that. They have vacant land. There's a tax credit program down the road that we may be able to incorporate into that. And Jose tells me that the city of Kalamazoo, the county, they got a lot of funding out there. So that's kind of the idea behind this strategy, and it's probably a 10-year strategy overall.
Thank you, Brian. Item 3, and you're going to hear from David Miller and Carolyn Martin a little bit later this morning, and you're going to see some images of Harbor Inn. And so that's really important, as well as you'll see images later today on the new memory care assisted living center at Perry Farm Village that Barbara just referenced. And then the fourth and the last initiative under the first direction is a very involved, so it looks like it's one sentence, but look at it: Perry Farm, McFarland Villages, Westland, Lake Huron Woods, and Oakland Woods. So 5 locations with significant expansions and renewals. And Brian, what's the price tag for all that about?
About $200 million. But more important, we've for years have been hearing from board members at villages, when are you going to come back to our village and do something? Well, this is about renewing those properties. And, a number of you have talked about champion new initiatives. So it really, and we did that with the greenhouse project. We did that with Tomei Rivertown. It is really taking Tomei Rivertown and trying to replicate that at 4 of the communities. And then Perry Farm's doing some great stuff with memory loss, bringing that on board. So
moving to the second direction, and Johnny, would you just highlight that?
Yes. The second direction is, and I have to tell you, this is one that's really near and dear to my heart. Strengthen and grow PVM's home and community-based services.
And all we're going to say about that is one of our next sessions, after the break, you're going to hear from Dr. Gwendolyn Grady. And I'm going to really build this up, Dr. Grady. Where is Dr. Grady at? This is going to be an awesome presentation. It applies to every village, because I think sometimes villages get locked into the thought they are about providing nice apartments or shelter, but not what Dr. Grady is going to share. And what Dr. Grady is going to share is very empowering. How can we, not only for the communities, the physical communities that we have, but how can we make a difference to people that are living in the neighborhoods around our villages? And again, it's very important. So we have two initiatives under this direction: PACE, which we'll talk about later, and then the second one is really the one that is wide open. Determine and implement opportunities to expand models of care to enhance aging in place. And that applies to everybody. So if you're a housing board member or administrator and you say, well, we don't do assisted living, we don't do care, we don't do memory loss. Yes, you do. And so that's part of the future. Johnny, the third direction.
Yes, the third direction is strengthen, and of course this is close to my heart too, so strengthen PVM's brand and reputation through people, practices, technologies, innovation, and research.
And so these 8 initiatives, there's 3 of them that are new. The other 5 existed in our previous plan. The 3 that are new are the first one, and I would say that is the most important one. Workforce. You know, our future vision of the future, portrait of the future, talked about workforce excellence. Well, another way to say it is about progressive workforce development initiatives. The workforce challenges are not going to go away. PVM needs to be more involved, more engaged, to come up with progressive strategies, tactics that will enable us to serve substantially more people. So that's called out right at the top. The second one that we did not have in our previous plan was around strengthening our commitment. And this is a commitment that was made originally in 2013 around diversity. And in 2013, it was just called diversity and inclusion. Now we're calling it diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. And doing that across the entire system. And then the third, and I'm going to ask the person that actually probably had the strongest voice in advocating for this, Carolyn Hastings. LaDonna, if you would give Carolyn the mic. Carolyn, would you talk with us about number 4 here? Because really up until April, this was not in the plan. Carolyn, take it away.
Roger said that workforce issues are not going to go away, and climate issues are not going to go away. And I think that one of my points is that PVM owns a lot, or manages a lot of real estate. And we have opportunities to show the way, towards the communities that surround our villages, and to all the people here and all the people who are connected with PVM about the importance of climate change. We've seen it in rainstorms. Recently, Chicago got 5 inches of rain in less than a couple of hours. I mean, that's tremendous. Rain gardens could be installed in some of our village properties to help the drainage off of parking places. More permeable surfaces could be encouraged in terms of patios and walkways. Have to work out with trip issues and such, have to be very careful how we do this. But we have so many opportunities to show the way and to encourage and take better care of our seniors, concerned about their heat issues, their cooling issues. Maybe we could again encourage neighborhood seniors who are living in unair-conditioned homes to come to cooling centers at the villages. And there's just sorts of all opportunities if we together brainstorm and share. Villages can come up with, village boards and administrators can come up with their own ideas as to how their community, their village and their community can show the way. So I just think we have tremendous opportunities, and I'm really, really pleased to see that this has been included on the strategic plan. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolyn. LaDonna, would you take the mic over to Jessica Gross? Jessica, I'd like you to share with the group what you can see out the front window of your home, and tell them where your home is at.
So I live just west of Mount Pleasant, right in the middle of Michigan, where that center dot is. And I'm the administrator of Rosebush Manor, but out my front window of my home, I can see over 50 windmills, the wind turbines that have came. So if you head north on 27, you can probably see some of them from the expressway.
And those are actually part of the DTE alternative energy strategy. You know, DTE and Consumers Energy and utilities around the country have made big commitments. So this is our third direction. I mean, everything's important. You see the reference to technology. You're going to hear about memory loss in a little bit. There's a session, one of our 15-minute sessions. You're going to hear about that. Wellness programming is important. It's all important. So, again, those are the 3 directions. And I want to come back to those core statements, right? what were they again? Mission, what else? Mission, vision, core purpose, beliefs and values. Those are like the bedrock for PVM. Those were adopted. There were a few tweaks that were made. Dr. Pruz mentioned, but back in November of last year, the PVM board adopted those updated foundational statements, and then, like I said, in May, the PVM board adopted the recommendations that came from strategic planning. Johnny, you want to comment on that second bullet point there?
The strategic directions and initiatives are living, flexible, and adaptable. When each year, or I would almost say at each strategic planning committee meeting, we tend to, and we always look at this strategic plan. And because of the environment, and the environment, I just don't mean climate and things, or it could be economic or whatever, we sometimes have to be a little bit more flexible regarding our plans that we have here. Then we also have, because it's a living document, the document is not something that's cut in stone that says, well, we're going to do this regardless. We must review it. We must enhance it, improve it. We also may have to reject some things because of the various changes that are occurring within our society and also within the aging community. When we look at the different individuals in our villages, we listen. The administrators, the board members, the executive team, listen to the members in the villages, and sometimes they have ideas and things that may influence how we think about this plan. So we have to be very careful to make sure that we listen to all voices, because we go back to the word we. We're all in this together. And it's not just us in this room. It's not just administrators. It's not just board members. It's also our stakeholders. It's also our residents. It's also the community we live in. So that's where we go from there.
Well, that's great. And as much as this is, we say it's the PVM system-wide strategic plan and PVM's logo is on it, it's a plan that really should be understood and embraced by everybody. Everyone that's connected in PVM one way or another, whether it's a partnership like Hartford Village or a management agreement like Delta Manor, it's all related to PVM as an organization, and so we really hope that all board members, all staff members can become very, very familiar with and be part of executing this. So some of the things even that you say, well, how does one of these initiatives, how can we help change that? Well, there's a lot of ways you can do it. So like an example, let me just go back quickly. So number 3 here, operational stability of Harbor Inn and the Wellness Center at East Harbor. So we've got this great new facility in Chesterfield Township that's part of this wonderful campus that's been around for almost 40 years. And there's limited options there for people. There's only, I think, 40 more apartments or ranch homes that people can move into. Well, you can talk about the opportunity to move to Harbor Inn at East Harbor. You can talk to friends, neighbors, and others about living there, understanding what's happening at all these campuses, the Campaign for the Ages, and like what you're going to see later today at Court Street would be another example of how you can support that. Again, workforce development, so many things. It's not, I think sometimes people think, well, this is PVM's strategic plan and someone at PVM is just going to make it happen. Well, PVM is all of us. So it's going to happen by the strength and engagement of all of us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tiffany from the Village of Harmony Manor. I just wanted to say that I greatly believe in our strategic plan. And I say that because, Roger, you sent out an email sometime last year about a survey that you wanted us to take in partnership with Wayne State University. I opted into doing that. And I was selected by Wayne State University and the University of California, San Francisco to participate in a project. In regards to that, it's about cognitive impairment in senior facilities, and they're trying to do some research and raise funds for senior communities like ours throughout the country to receive funding from the federal government. And I believe that what we're doing here made us so interesting to the university out in California, because PVM has taken on a big challenge, and everything you guys say that you will do, you get it done. So I have been in contact with the lead liaison within the last few weeks, and she would like to know if we can move on to phase 2 of that project by interviewing some of our seniors and also working with a few of the wellness or service coordinators to get more information about aging seniors and cognitive impairment to be able to bridge the gap to keep them in a position, I don't remember which young lady said it, so that we stop aging. Or we have a coalition to reinforce aging. I don't know if it'll stop, but they want to help slow down, the process. I'm a little nervous, or what it is that's going on. And I've noticed in some of my residents at my community, we tend to overlook those things, but looking at all the things that you guys had written down on a strategic plan, if we can implement these things, I think we'll be on track to do just what they want to do in their program.
That is excellent. Let's give Tiffany a round of applause. I think that is a great example, a great testimonial of Tiffany getting an email along with all the other dozens or hundreds of emails she's got, but she read it and did something about it and listened to what happened. I mean, that's amazing. That's exactly what we want to have happen. Thank you, Tiffany.
Roger and Johnny, this is not a question, but I've seen many presentations of the PVM strategic plan, and I applaud you both for your innovative approach this morning, and for those who shared from their heart. This has really been very engaging. Thank you.
Thank you.